Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome to the Labyrinth today. This week, I'm going to direct the content of our yarning, if you like, our having a conversation towards strategy for raising personal awareness and to be able to use energy to maximize the healing potential of it, and giving a bit of explanation about different things. Before we get into it all, though, I'm just wondering how you are. What is it like in your part of the world? In fact, let me know where you are in the comments. What's the weather like today for me? And I live in Perth, Western Australia. Oh my goodness me, it feels like it's been raining for 40 days and 40 nights. I just went out before, and not only is it raining, and we're talking heavy rain that's very consistent, like you've got the soaker on your sprinkler trying to water your garden, but we've also got a lot of wind that's actually picking this rain up and blowing it sideways. So if I had to walk anywhere, there's no way that you could walk anywhere without actually wearing full rain gear, I think. So anyway, we are in winter, so there's no surprises. I just hope the dams are filling up, and we're not far away from spring now, so I'll be looking forward to the spring days. Anyway, cracking on with the content today. If you're a newbie this week, if this is your first time visit, this week we're going to follow on a little bit from the yarning of the previous weeks, where we were talking about spiritual communication and what I refer to as the etheric telephone line. Now, I do put chapters in the description of videos to make it easier for you to find the subject matter that you're interested in. If you're a returning visitor, of course, I think you're pretty well onto it. And thank you again for being part of my journey. And you know what? If you're a returning visitor, I really would actually like to know, if you can put in the comments, what is the kind of content that you're interested in? What we in Australia would say, what blows your hair back? What do you want to hear about? What do you want to have more of? And let me know what country you're in too, because it helps me to identify where I need to direct my time and energy myself to maximize the value for you guys that are the listener. Of course, I do want to acknowledge and thank the subscribers to the channel and those people that at least respond with a like if they like the content or whatever, because this is the kind of stuff that actually validates me in the direction at the moment, in the absence of comments, that the content that I'm putting up is of value to people. And that's really important to me, because I can't actually even explain why. It's important to me that the content that I do has meaning to you guys. But at the same time, I'm totally reliant on my guidance at the moment as to what I put up and where I direct my time. Now, of course, I do see people subscribe and unsubscribe and that kind of thing. Thank God my ego is not based on whether or not people have clicked the like or whatever. Because realistically, at the end of the day, we can only do what we feel is the right thing, and this is the same for me. So either way, anyway, I want to say thank you. I appreciate you. I thank you for your subscriptions. If you like the content but you don't want to subscribe because you don't want to get the notifications, that's fine. I totally appreciate that as well. I watch content on other channels, and I'm not necessarily subscribed to all of them for the same reason. So I can respect the fact that not everybody is going to subscribe even if they like the content. But anyway, moving on to today. Until I get some questions in the comments and that kind of thing about divine communication, and there's a lot of strategies I can actually put up as far as meditation and guided visualizations go to support people to actually connect with their dearly departed, shall we say. But in the meantime, what I'm going to do is just sort of close off this whole topic of divine or spirit communication with this particular slide here until I think of something else as well. Because invariably, when we're talking about personal development, the most common question that I get in a conversation is, or statement of fact actually, is, I want to develop my psychic gifts. Can you help me with that, Anna? The shorter answer is, well, of course, yes, I can. The better question is actually, or should be, will I help you to do it? And how far am I willing to go as far as teaching you these skills? Now, the bottom line is I don't teach psychic development anymore as I used to. I used to deliver it willy-nilly and teach everybody because I had this belief that we all would get to that point where we would be able to have the psychic gifts, that they would all blow open. But the problem is that I actually feel that I inferred some karma with this. I wasn't discerning about who I taught, and the end result is now that I think I've got to be I believe, I feel that I need to be more responsible when I'm delivering these skills, teaching people how to access it. And what else can I say about this? Basically, just anybody can develop their clairs. And this is before I started doing online group work and teaching people. I always used to encourage people not to focus on developing what we call the clairs, which is in the third eye area. If you have a look at this image here, you're going to see at the top of the person's head, you've got the purple chakra, that's the crown chakra. Underneath there, you've got the two blues. Now, when we talk about developing the clairs, they're actually through the two blue chakras. One is obviously the throat chakra, the other one's the third eye. Now, as you can see looking at this image, those gifts are associated with the higher chakras. And just because you can open up your third eye doesn't mean that you actually have capacity to fully understand and process the information. Now, where I'm going with this is what I always teach people to do is to develop the entire structure, not to put the focus on actually developing these clair gifts, but to focus on raising their personal vibration. Because when they do it in this way, when you put the focus on the whole, we're talking about having a solid and reliable intuition with the clairs. And we can compare this in a way to building the structures within the body, within the aura, to basically building a house structure. If you haven't got the foundations right, if you haven't created them with solid footings, then the whole structure is going to be unstable, okay? The house is going to be at risk of basically not being around for terribly long. I mean, if we want to talk worst case scenarios. When we're talking about developing the clairs, we also need to develop the solid foundations to be able to communicate at a higher level. And if we don't do that, there becomes a risk of basically, we may as well say, delusion and psychosis. When we lay these foundations and build secure footings for ourselves, we don't have to force or strive to open our psychic gifts. We don't have to strive to be able to open to have the clairs. They will automatically open and evolve at the divine time, the perfect time, under grace, in the perfect way, where they are actually reliable. And where you don't have to worry about sifting through what might be delusions and mind chatter. You can rely on your gifts because they are actually divinely inspired and guided, and you've put the structures in place, is where I'm going. And they will open up like a flower. You know, a prime example of what can happen when a person has forced their clairs open, because they don't understand what it is that they're seeing, and because they may not have worked through fear, then they tend to create and draw to themselves fear-based experiences. And we see a lot of that. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about what might be fear-based psychic experiences, but they can be quite terrifying for people. So you've got to be able to work through your fear, build your foundations, learn to manage your emotions and to trust the process, and come from a space of pure intention and love to be able to allow these chakras to open perfectly. I'm going to give you just a little bit of an example, perhaps, of unreliable guidance, okay? And we might see this demonstrated when a person who says that they have psychic abilities, and they probably do to a level, but they're just not able to interpret it. They might be one of these people, you know, that say, oh, I'm energy aware and I just love my romantic partner. You know, we're nothing alike. In fact, I know that the person's not a good person. They're very violent, very aggressive, but they're good to me and I just love them and I can't explain it. And what they're talking about is they're actually feeling a heart flutter in the heart chakra area, but quite often these types of relationships have a very strong lusty component to them. And you know, this would be the, you know, if you were doing the old song, 2 out of 3 ain't bad, you know, but that love is actually not based on anything of substance either, because there's no shared understanding, there's no meeting of minds, and clearly the person will have fear, you know, especially if the person is violent, will have fear, and the person that they're loving is actually untrustworthy. Whereas if you've got all your chakras open and balanced, you'll be able to recognize that there is, I just thought of it, there is healthy love and there is unhealthy love in the physical form. And that is going to help you to make wise and healthy choices and decisions for yourself, So I hope I've made that clear for you. So, of course, we all have our own pathways to how we actually build these strong foundations. There's more than one road to Rome or something like that, a saying like that. I'm not very good at these kind of things. But there's more than one pathway, okay? Now, all I can share with you is the pathway that I took, okay? So once I was looking at my, life is funny at the moment. So basically, I'm doing this content for you, and then I get a contact from somebody asking me actually the specific question of opening up their psychic gifts and to be able to do healing. So I said, yeah, all right, I'll put together some content. I'll get it started for you, and such is life. So where I'm going with this is coming soon. I'm actually going to be delivering some content on a subject I'm building to it. It's on the next slide. I've had to pull out my manuals, blow the dust off them, because when we're teaching and sharing information, I find I need to go back and revisit stuff and to make sure that I teach it appropriately. I think that's called responsibility, actually, in responsible ways. So where historically across my life path, I had what I used to call seeing dreams, and I would have intuitive, shall we say, with the clairs. I saw spirit, but I didn't understand it. But where I'm going with this, as far as building my gifts, my psychic gifts to being reliable, that occurred after I did Reiki, and I chose to put the focus on building my personal vibration, my light levels, if that's something that we want to call it, as opposed to focusing the psychic gifts. I had a lot of motivation to do this. I'm not going to go into it quite now at this moment. I'm just looking at my notes here as I talk to you. Anyway, what I want to make the point of is that I'm very much aware that Reiki has become quite contentious as a topic, and where people can be quite dismissive about Reiki and its benefits. And I put that down to ego, actually. I put it down to the fact that there's been a lot of people that are associated with Reiki who have delivered attunements, this mass marketing that occurred on Facebook, and with the exploitation of people with vulnerability as far as dollars go. Now, to put this into perspective, my first Reiki teacher, because I had a couple of them, I paid for my attunements, so the Reiki 1, 2 and 3. But my first Reiki teacher paid nearly $10,000 to be able to teach people how to do Reiki. This, of course, is going back to year 2000. I think he got his attunements in probably about 1990. But anyway, after that, he had to pay annual licensing fees to be able to teach Reiki and to remain, I guess, what they call a credible teacher. But let's just put this into perspective for a moment, okay? When it comes to energy, we actually don't need to have a piece of paper. This is a Western concept. And at the time I did my attunement, my teacher had actually withdrawn from the professional body because he felt that it was actually exploiting people. Now, to put this into perspective as well, what I'm aware of now as doing some research to get my own notes in order and make sure that I'm addressing the history of Reiki correctly to deliver this to people, is that I'm very much aware now that we have a number of different licensing bodies. So good luck trying to work out which one I'm talking about. But either way, what I am aware of is that when Reiki was introduced to the West, it did create conflict in the US, in Japan. Okay, they had real problems apparently as far as this belief and perception, which I think was well founded from what we can see in modern society, that if Reiki was introduced to the West, that it would be subject to exploitation from people who were seeking to profit from it. Now, the other thing too, there's a lot of myths that have been taught about Reiki, and what I am happy to see with these different licensing bodies up there is that some of them encourage people to ask questions, some of them put to bed some myths, and they come forward with what appear to be truths to me. Now, the other thing to be aware of as well, And I tend to believe this. When I was doing my first attunements, I was told that there was only one Reiki form, which is the Yusui form, and that he created it. Now, I'm going to talk about that in a moment, how this actually ties in with my current knowledge. What I suspect is that he didn't actually create Reiki per se, but he actually developed it and developed strategies that worked very well for him, and he shared this information with other people. Just so you know, this on the screen here, this business of just for today, I will not anger, these are called the Reiki principles, and these are a translation of the Japanese principles. They're not literal. The Japanese principles are somewhat different. So, going back to why I believe that the information I was given at my first attunement was incorrect about how many different Reiki forms there were, is because I had two Reiki teachers and I was attuned to teaching level in both Usui and what is called Tibetan Reiki. And I'm aware that with both of these modalities, while there's a lot of similarity, particularly when it comes to symbols and attunement processes and this kind of thing, there is a slight variation between the two. So, to me, logically and rationally, this speaks to the fact that there must be other forms. I don't have a problem accepting that. And I think a good example of where I'm going with this is that when people think of Yusui Reiki, if you're aware of Reiki at all, we think of the colour violet, or the colour violet tends to be associated with Reiki. Now, Tibetan Reiki is not associated with purple. It's actually associated with, I don't even know how to describe it, but it's a form of blue. Now, going back to it, yes, only Yusui Reiki was introduced to the West in the initial days, I believe. And I think it would be fair to say that the fears of the Japanese Reiki masters would have been well founded, because I think this is where Reiki as a healing modality has become somewhat discredited, is because we've got people with questionable integrity and questionable moral and ethical values that have become attuned to it. And as I say, this mass selling of attunements on Facebook, that must have been thousands of people were in tune to it. It's all very well to give people symbols, shall we say, or to attune them to the healing process, but it's like throwing a knife and fork at people and saying, go work that out. Well, I suppose that's a very simplified version of it. But where I'm going with this is it's not just about that, where I have a conflict personally with these people that have delivered from a Western perspective. It's because I actually do believe, I am aware, I've been told that when it goes back to the foundational times of Reiki, that Dr. Yusui actually used to go to villages and he would attune people to Reiki 1 free of charge. And when we talk about Reiki 1, we're talking about the physical act of doing healing, hands-on healing, which was very popular in Japan at the time. Now, I will potentially deliver history of Reiki to help people understand this. Let me just think about this for a sec. Basically, my intention is that I will provide attunements to Reiki 1 free of charge for anybody, because of the benefits which I've got on the screen here. Now, the thing is, when we're able to access the Reiki energy, we can do not only hands-on healing for other people, but we can also do what's called self-treatments as part of raising our own personal vibration. And when we talk about this, we're going back to this idea that I mentioned before of building solid foundations and structures within our own aura to be able to access our psychic gifts in reliable ways. Now, I have to look also, I've got to explore this a little bit more about how I'm going to deliver this content to you. Ideally, I would like to have a membership part on the channel where those people that are interested in Reiki, they can take out membership. It doesn't have to be for a fee. It can just be a restricted audience, shall we say, where people can actually access the information, because I will actually teach people how to do Reiki 2, which is remote sending and remote healing. And as time progresses, I may even teach people how to be teachers of Reiki. In the meantime, I'm not sure if I told you, but my motivation for getting back into this and looking at Reiki again is because I've had somebody ask me to attune them and work with them so that they can deliver Reiki as well. Now, this involves me putting together manuals because I'm having to revisit them. They haven't been looked at for over 20 years. I mean, let's be real. I just said that I did my attunements in year 2000. We're in 2024. So it really is a case of me taking a look at my own literature, blowing the cobwebs off it, and creating these manuals, updating them to include my current knowledge and learning that I've picked up over the years since the initial attunements. Anyway, look, the whole point being that I'm not going to be able to set up a separate channel, I believe, until I've got 4,000 hours of viewing on the channel. Now, while I'm pretty easy go, I'm very easy go. My motivation for doing the channel is about sharing information, and I respect the fact that people will be drawn as they are divinely guided or inspired to come towards the channel to find this information. So I'm not hung up about the fact that people subscribe or unsubscribe, or that there's not a lot of hours of viewing on the channel. But I am aware that if I want to be able to deliver on a larger scale, then I need to actually increase the viewing times of the videos and the content that I'm putting up. And excuse me being a bit croaky, it's that kind of day. Okay, I'm going to leave this here just for something to consider. If you're interested, please do make a comment below. I'm going to leave you with another strategy. Whether you do Reiki or not, you can actually do what I've got in this image here. This is what I refer to as putting a blue dome over your house or your family or whatever as part of protection. But in regard to Reiki, just another thing that people might be interested in, especially if they feel that they've got visitors attending their property that don't have a body that they're concerned about, you can actually use Reiki to clear and purify your physical environment. That could be your home, it can be your car. You can actually use Reiki to do a full mental health healing, if you like. There's strategies I can give you for that, and my feedback is that it can be very effective for people with all sorts of mental health conditions, including trauma. And even actually back in the day, I haven't done it with anybody more recently, but my feedback back in the day was that actually people with a diagnosis of schizophrenia or psychosis could actually benefit from what we call a mental health treatment. When we talk about clearing a physical space, such as a room or a house, we're talking about removing energetic dross. That's just an extra term for you. Anyway, there's many, many different uses. And of course, I will, over the next weeks, look to include some of the content on how we can work with energy. But at the same time, I've got to do it in responsible ways. And I'll probably won't do it as dedicated videos at this point in time. I'll probably just stick to actually doing it, creating a space on the yarning videos, okay? So on another note, where I'm at currently is that I'm very close to recommencing the delivery of the services, the consultancy that I advertise on my website. And actually there's another thing I've got to do with that, which is to actually fix up what we call the SEO on my website. And I've got to go back and revisit it. I haven't looked at it for a while. But anyway, where I'm going with this is I do intend to start delivering services again in the very near future. I don't encourage you to go and book a service right now because I'm not delivering them right now. What I can say is if you were to visit my website now, you would see that my rates are actually very low. Now, I dropped them down because of the global economy back when I was building this website. But I'm coming to realise as I work through all this stuff, the Australian dollar has now fallen so low that I will actually need to put my rates up in the not too distant future. But anyway, moving on, what I actually wanted to share with you today is that as always, if people have known me for a while, they know that if I've taken a break from delivering services, I will eventually, at some point in time before I start charging again, I will put my gifts to the test, and that involves giving complimentary or free readings and messages, because I want to make sure that I'm attuned properly, as in the frequencies in, that I'm hearing, listening, and responding to the messages that I get accurately, shall we say. So what you can expect on the channel in the very near future is that I will start doing some offers. Now, I will explain them very clearly when it comes to that stage, but if this is something that interests you, if you want to be a recipient of any of my offers for freebies, I usually will offer them on the Facebook page. I will offer them here on the channel as well. And they'll be in restricted numbers. It's not going to be like I have done in the past. I just don't have the same goodness me, what do you call it, backbone, substance, or whatever. In the past, I used to be able to do 20 freebies in a row. I can no longer do that. So I will be reducing how many freebies that I do, maybe 5 a week. We'll see what happens. But either way, if you want to be a recipient of that, then please do click the button to get notified as well. Subscribe to the channel and click to get notified. Other news relates to, of course, the Realm Spiritual Advisors website. Now, if you're aware, this is a project that I'd been working on for a number of years. It was an idea that went back. Now, it turned out to be can you hear my English? Turned out to be an absolute disaster, actually. It took me to hell and back. And the bottom line is that some people are aware. Look, the developers took me for a ride, and obviously my discernment was compromised. It's taken a toll on me, and I held on to the dream for a long time. But the bottom line is, this week I made the decision to actually remove the website. I'm deregistering it because at the moment it just costs me money, and it has done for the last 18 months just to have the website up. Now, when I say the developers let me down, one of the things, this became a real challenge, and I'm now at the place in my life where I look back and I think to myself, you know what, maybe this was a good idea. I did feel divinely guided and inspired to actually get the website up, and it was actually a humanitarian concept. It was to be able to get quality service workers, shall we say, within the metaphysical industry, to give them a space to deliver quality services to the client base. Now, it backfired on me, obviously, because I couldn't get a quality developer. Don't know what happened there. But from a position of hindsight, where I'm going is, it looks to me as though all the political stuff that's happening on the digital front means that it would actually be no longer safe for me to run this type of platform. So I'm just going to go with the fact, you know what, the universe, where I felt guided initially, the universe has stepped in and said no. Okay, and I'm just going to go with that. So to bring you up to speed, what I've done is I am removing the website, I'm deregistering the name. As far as the Facebook page goes, I'm going to connect it to my Facebook page, Larinas Labyrinth, and just leave it at that. Okay, so you won't be able to see any of the content with Realm Spiritual Advisors online on the website after about August 23. So in regard to the angel content, the only one that's actually left to load and to publish and schedule and this kind of stuff is the guardian angel content. Now, at the moment, that has the full video has been completed. It just needs to be reviewed before I load it. Otherwise, things are moving along quite nicely. And of course, this is the cover for the Guardian Angel one. Now, I still have to do the short for this particular video, and I like to load the shorts with the full-length videos as well to connect them. Where I'm going with this is I still have to develop the short. I don't think it's going to take me very long. And I'm having a decision. I don't want to overload the content, especially for those people that have clicked get notified. So I did have plans to put a different angel video in this week. I may actually swap it out. We'll see. But either way, it's not far away, okay? So last week you will have actually seen relationships and Mihr go up. And of course, when we talk about relationships, we're talking about group relationships. This can be family, work, or whatever. If you haven't seen the video, it talks about enhancing, it gives you some strategy and just some sage wisdom on how to be effective as part of a group when working towards your divine plan, shall we say. So anyway, you're going to see that one up on the angel playlist. Next week, we've got Ramaela, the Angel of Joy, who is scheduled to go public. Now, this is the one that I may or may not switch out, whatever you want to call it, and replace it with the previous slide. Or I may actually put the Guardian one up on the Saturday. I'll see how I feel. I'll put it to the, shall we say, I'll contemplate it for a little while before I make a firm decision about it. But anyway, when we talk about joy, we're talking about holding that capacity to keep the vibration high, even within difficult circumstances. And once again, of course, you get sage wisdom come through from Ramaela to be able to do that. Okay, I'm not going to talk too much about it. I'll let you check out the video yourself when it loads. So just a reminder that we've got the colour playlist, and basically what we're looking at with the colour playlist, as with all of the content that I load as playlists, they're basically, by the time all of the videos are loaded, you've got a free workshop on them. So this content is readily available to you to go through at your leisure. Of course, the content is being loaded bit by bit as far as pacing the content. But anyway, check it all out. Let me know your thoughts. If you've got questions on specific colours, please do ask a question. I'm happy to answer them. The colour brown you should have seen go up this week. If you haven't seen it, it's on the colour playlist. And of course, brown is a very grounding colour. It's very earthy, and there's multitudes of ways that we can use brown. But just to remember, all the content that I put up on the colour channel, on the colour channel in regard to colours, we have the colour playlist. Feel free to check it out at your leisure. And not only that, all the videos that I put up, they're all chapters. They've got timings in them in the description. This week, what you will have seen loaded, if you haven't seen it already, of course, includes the colour rainbow, which is, if you're into... I really dislike using the words because it's so associated with, the whole concepts of people a bit out there, a little bit insane. But when we put into perspective that fairies, we're talking about energies of the animal kingdom, shall we say. Some people call them divas, but based on my background, my traditional background is the Irish, and they call them fairies. And to be able to connect with the fairies and the celestial realms, it's a matter of drawing upon the power of the rainbow. They actually call it the Rainbow Bridge, actually. But anyway, that video has gone up this week if you're interested in checking that one out. Next week, the colour Auburn is scheduled, and I think, upon recollection, I believe that's to do with boundaries and even grounding and protection. But either way, check it out and let me know your thoughts. So chocolate, or the colour chocolate, is scheduled for next week as well. Now, that message is primarily about how to bring sweetness into your life, and of course there's an activity involved with it, which I think will be fun for those people that enjoy chocolate actually as a food. So before I close out today, I know this has been a long video and I do apologise for this. I'm putting this video up because there may actually be newbies to the channel, and if there's not, if you're a subscriber to the channel, just a reminder that with the numerology playlist, what you can actually access is a free numerology workshop. Right? The only thing that is missing on that playlist is the details on how to work out your karmic pathway for this lifetime, your past life karma, and just those things that involve using your birth date and your birth time that we can calculate. Until I get requests to do this, I'm not actually going to put that content up, but you will still receive a lot of information to be able to do your own birth charts and to be able to even create birth charts for other people if you look at all of these videos. So I do encourage you, go and have a look at them, go through them one by one, start with your ruling number, then look at your day number, look at your name numbers, all of this kind of stuff, and become familiar with the content. Now, you don't have to listen to the entire video of any one of them because I have put chapter descriptions in and the timing. So what I recommend is you look at the videos, you listen to the how-to part of the videos, and then you go and find the information because it's all broken down for you for ease of access and ease of processing information. The reason, there's always a motivation. Something happens in my life that makes me turn around and go, oh, okay, the channel members might be interested in this. Now, the thing that has brought this to my attention this week is I happened to go out the other day. I met a lady with 3 children. She, excuse me while I have a cough, just a sec. Sorry about that. Anyway, she expressed to me that she was having a few difficulties and feeling disillusioned and this kind of stuff about people not being able to see the big picture. And I just looked at her and I said, look, as you do, straight away they start talking about certain things that are their core values. And you can turn around and say to a person, once you understand numbers, let me guess, you have a ruling number or a day number of X, and they will generally confirm it once you know the numbers well. And then you're able to turn around and say, well, this is part of your core of who you are because these numbers are associated. I never tell people, just to be clear here, because you have these numbers, this is how it's going to be. What I say to people is, in my experience and observations, this is what I see with the numbers, and this is how I interpret them. And I let the person tell me back how that aligns with their life experience. Now, this woman had 3 children, so I was able to give her some insight into her own responses to challenges. I was then able to give her some information on what was going on for her and her children, how she can support her children who are youths, and you know what I mean, like 17, 18, 19, this kind of thing, how she can support them to overcome some of these hurdles that they're actually going through at the moment as they step into maturity. So, numerology as a tool of self-awareness is amazing. I got into numerology after doing Reiki, just so you know. So this has been a very long video. I hope that you certainly gained some benefit from it, or there's something here that interests you or sparks your own interest or whatever. I'm a bit flat today. I do apologise for that, and I think largely it's because of the weather, which is just, I'm a summer person. I'm not really a winter person, and this ongoing rain has taken its toll. I say with humour, seasonal affective disorder. Yeah, I'm a bit flat, but I don't think it's just about the weather. I think it might be because the dog doesn't like walking on wet grass either. And so therefore I'm having more mishaps happening inside the house. In Australia, we call them barker's eggs. Okay, so we're talking about the little brown accidents, which don't thrill me. And because it's been raining for a week, I can just turn around and say to you right now, we can do Reiki and all the rest of it. But I'm trying to telepathically communicate to my little boy who's looking at me right now that it would be very helpful if he could build the bridge and go and walk on the wet lawn and do his little eggs outside. That would be wonderful. But anyway, leaving that lovely visual for you, I'm just going to say, have a wonderful week. I do hope life has been kind to you wherever you are. Please don't forget, if you like the content, to subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, let me know where you live, say hello. Let's build a relationship, okay? Take care. I'll catch you on the next video. Bye-bye for now. Thanks for being with me.